What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to basketball. We're right in the middle of NBA trade season right now. There's not a ton of trades actually happening because it's very, very complicated. It's hard to actually make these things happen. But hey, let's use our imagination and see what kind of trades people are cooking up out there. And by people, we mean Bleacher Report. It's always Bleacher Report at the end of the day. Now, I had a different video planned for today. I don't quite have the time to record it. Basically, I'm going to do one of those videos. You know what? Let's plug the YouTube channel really quick. Yeah, you didn't think you were getting an ad this early, did you, for the YouTube channel? I know you guys have really liked these these realistic kind of trade idea videos where we go in and we really break down the whole roster, make a bunch of moves, and kind of try to reconstruct the team a little bit. I am going to be recording one for the Phoenix Suns tomorrow because it feels like they are trying to make some moves and everything. Looks like I got some comments to get back to as well. I respond to every single comment if y'all didn't know that already. But no, I'm going to get on that and everything. I promise. Just didn't quite have time today. Super busy week and I'm traveling all next week. Going to get you guys some of that stuff. But anyway, NBA trade block big board. New deals for the top 10 targets out there. Never read this stuff beforehand, obviously, so I'm very, very curious to see where they go with this. One, who are the top 10 players even available? I know we can think of some of them. Obviously, Jimmy Butler probably being number one. The plot just seems to thicken on this one, every single day. We just hear the rumors, oh, he doesn't like this team. He doesn't like this team. He'd really like to go to this team, but no, not this one. And I'm very curious as to the logic behind it as well. But regardless, we're going to go through it. We're going to react to the actual trades that have been drawn up and everything. So let's move on. Kyle Kuzma. Okay, that's the first one available. So before we even read the trade, the Wizards have been so dumb with Kyle Kuzma the whole time. And I know I want to say nice things about the Wizards sometimes. Here, I'll give you Wizards fans some quick hope. Alex Sarr's looking better and better every single day. He's really figuring it out. There you go. You did well in this draft with him. And I like Bub Carrington. Keyshawn George, I'm struggling to watch a bit at this point. But still, Kyle Kuzma in the situation last year, they basically had a deal to send him to the Mavericks before they even went and got PJ Washington, so it worked out even better for the Mavericks that this didn't happen. They're like, hey, we've got a trade. Dallas is ready to say, yep, let's go get Kyle Kuzma. And the Wizards said, let's go ask Kyle what he thinks, because that makes a ton of fucking sense. And they were like, hey, Kyle, do you want to go to Dallas? He was like, nah, man, I'm a chill right here. And then they just said, okay, fair enough. Well, I guess we're keeping Kyle. Kyle Kuzma is a very good basketball player, right? He has the authority to why does he have that power in the organization? A team that's not very good. They were the worst team in basketball last year too, debatably, I guess, but he wasn't helping them win. If you can go make your team better, go make your team better. He wasn't the future. I don't know. I didn't understand it. So what are we saying now? Now the Wizards are like, okay, maybe we should just trade him. Fair enough, right? The trade, Kyle Kuzma to the Memphis Grizzlies for Marcus Smart, Vince Williams Jr., and a 2026 first-round pick. Honestly, from face value, I'm trying to determine whether or not this first-round pick makes sense. Because the other part I can understand, Marcus Smart not helping out the Grizzlies a ton right now. He hasn't been a great fit for them. Just don't necessarily need him on the team. You got other point guards you can go to in Scottie Pippen Jr. that you like more anyway. And you have other guards at other positions. Not tripping about losing him. The money could be better spent elsewhere. Vince Williams Jr. was a really interesting young player that they had on the team last year. He's been hurt for all of this season. Him and Gigi Jackson, who were kind of the gems that they found last season. Both of them have been out. Look, is Kyle Kuzma better than Vince Williams Jr.? Yes, right? That is for sure. Kuzma's had one of the worst years of his career statistically this year. He hasn't been very efficient. He looks kind of lost on this team, but in all fairness, everybody looks lost on this team, except Jordan Poole's been hooping recently as well. Okay, there's some other good news, Wizards fans. Jordan Poole looks really, really good right now, and Alex Sarr is playing really, really good off him. It's helped that Brogdon's been back, right? Still not a good team. Kyle Kuzma's not really necessarily the thing you want to keep around. The good news about Kyle Kuzma, if you're a Grizzlies fan and you bring him in, is that he doesn't need the basketball to succeed. And he's probably better without the basketball, in all honesty. He's very, very good at off-ball movement, things like that, cutting, playing off other people. Could be kind of interesting. Is he really the thing that you want to add? No, this feels this doesn't feel like option A, not even option B. This feels like option C for the Grizzlies. And that's why I'm a little bit kind of meh about it. Am I tripping about trading Vince Williams Jr. and Marcus Smart? No, I'm sure Grizzlies fans like Vince and the potential of him and everything. You've got so many other good players on this team. It's worth condensing them into a better player, right? And Kyle Kuzma can be that. I don't really think this kind of dynamic power forward is necessarily what you want. To me, it feels like either like a starting center or like a wing. And I know Kuzma can kind of play the wing sometimes. I don't know that I feel like I want to keep him at like the more dynamic 4 option, right? Which means Jaren Jackson's playing the 5. That's totally fine, right? But like, do I really want to be taking minutes away from like Aldama and then Edie and then Laravia, right? And like Jay Huff, guys like that? I don't necessarily think so. I don't think it makes sense, and I'm not even sure you need to throw in a first-round pick depending on what else is in the trade for Kyle Kuzma right now. Like, I don't know. I don't think he's playing good enough to get one first-round pick. Like, really? I don't know. Dennis Schroeder went for none, and Dennis Schroeder was having a way better season. And I don't know. They didn't get any good players back, so that's kind of what I'm thinking with that. So I don't know. That doesn't seem like something I'd necessarily want to do. Bruce Brown, that's right. He's in the NBA. It's been a while since he's been on the basketball court. It feels like maybe it hasn't actually been that long, but it feels like a long time. Obviously, the trade from the Pacers here. We all know what he can be. He can be a dynamic option on a championship team because he can do a lot of things well. Solid outside shooter, can handle the rock a little bit, good defender, rebounds above his size. He's got that mean floater to his game, so nice basketball player. We haven't seen him on the court in a little while, so just take that for what it is. The trade, Bruce Brown to the Spurs for Zach Collins, Branham, Sissoko, and a first-round pick. There is no way that makes sense, right? There's no way that makes sense. So, first of all, this is a Spurs trade where they're trying to add more talent. I don't think the Spurs are going to be buyers this deadline, and I think most of us kind of more reasonable basketball fans are going to say that too. There's the numbskulls on the internet that are like, you need to win right now. It's a good win. He's going to leave. No, and whatever your logic is, like, look, is it wrong to try to make your team better? No, I won't fault you for that kind of logic at all, numbskulls on the internet, but that's not how the Spurs do things. I don't think that's the best way to do it either. They want to build through the draft. They want to build very organically, take things a piece at a time, don't give away an asset for nothing. I don't think we need another, like, somewhat ball-reliant basketball player that isn't like a great outside shooter and a little bit smaller, right? It just feels like we got a couple of those guys between like Vassell, Castle, and so they've got Bruce Brown already and Stephon Castle pretty much. So I don't know. This feels kind of redundant in and of itself. Do I care that they're giving up Zach Collins? No, I don't really know what else they have as far as bigs on the team. Then after that, that's a little bit concerning. Branham, I'm not a huge fan of anyway. Sissoko, I'm not a huge fan of personally myself. Sorry, Sissoko fans. I don't think you need to give up a first-round pick for Bruce Brown at this point. I think the Raptors have kind of maybe lost out on that privilege to get something like that. Again, Dennis Schroeder didn't go for it. I don't think you need to, so I'm not going to spend any more time with this trade. I don't like this trade. Collin Sexton. Okay, yeah, no, this is a name I'd be interested to see move. The trade, Collin Sexton to the Warriors for Dennis Schroeder. He's already on the move. Pods and Guy Santos. Interesting. The same skills that drew the Dubs to Schroeder, who can't be aggregated in a trade before February 5th, so right before the deadline, can now lead them to Sexton. There is plenty of overlap between the two, and while they may... And while that could be a worry given Schroeder's struggles to find his fit, Schroeder has been a really odd fit so far in Golden State. And I was a big proponent of saying, send him there. I think it makes a ton of sense. I think it still does in like basketball principle. It's just they're trying to get him to like play in the Warriors system like so tightly, and he just looks like so stiff while playing in it. Like he's like, okay, I'm supposed to pass the ball here now I move here, now I look here. Like there's no actual like flow to it or anything, and Schroeder's a very flow player, so that's my take on why it hasn't been working so far. I think Kerr's got to adjust his game plan a little bit, and that's just me. At the end of the day, Sexton might have an easier time making his mark as a more efficient shooter and superior scorer. I mean, yeah, Collin Sexton is a very, very good scorer. Defensively, obviously, he still has his problems. It's never an energy problem with him, but it's just not very good defense at the end of the day. Golden State is getting desperate to find additional scoring and shot creation. Doesn't this just, like, feel like a waste of time, like, a little bit? Like, the Warriors need to do so many other moves, right? Like, they've got to make some other things happen, like try to bolster the bench a little bit. They got to get some bigs on the team, right, that can actually contribute to some winning basketball right now. This just feels like such a nothing deal for them. Like, it's just like, okay, this piece isn't working right away, let's just flip him for something else. It doesn't make sense to me. And like, yes, Pods is having a rough season so far, right? And did we maybe jump the gun on thinking he was going to be really, really good for them? Probably, right? I mean, Golden State fans have jumped on every young player that shows any little bit of potential, but I don't know. I don't think that this is really worth it. Is Collin Sexton better than Schroeder? Not necessarily. Schroeder's pretty good defensively and stuff too, and Sexton's not. So I don't know. I'd probably take Schroeder on a team, honestly, before Collin Sexton. Not saying I don't like Collin Sexton. I do. It's just this feels kind of like a nothing trade at the end of the day. So I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of this one, to say the least. Zach LaVine, the Bulls fan in me gets excited. What am I getting for Zach LaVine? Are we doing a Warriors trade? Are we doing a Nuggets trade? Let's see how lazy this article writer was. Did we get a Nuggets trade? Oh, wait, what's going on? Okay, we're sending him to the Pistons. We'll talk about that. Zach LaVine to the Pistons for Tobias Harris, Tim Hardaway Jr., Bobby Klintman, if you're not familiar with him, their second round pick from this last year, and a 2027 first round pick, top 5 protected. Okay, fair enough. The Bulls get another protected pick. Yeah, that's exactly what I want. So for Zach LaVine, what am I getting? I'm getting Tobias Harris, which is basically money at this point. He hasn't been playing very well. Tim Hardaway Jr. honestly had a solid season, but again, just an expiring deal. Bobby Klintman, young forward. I wasn't too high on him anyway. 2027 first round pick. If it helps to blow the team up as a Bulls fan, I'd be kind of like whatever with this, right? It's like, okay, yeah, we got LaVine off the team. LaVine's having a phenomenal season, by the way, and there's an ambulance going by. People have asked me before why I don't just like cut those things out and anything. I like to be authentic with you guys, so I hope you guys understand that. But if I was a Bulls fan, I'd kind of just be like, whatever. They moved him off the team. I like Zach LaVine a lot. I just think it's time for the franchise to move on a little bit, right? And I think he can help someone else. And look, at one point, I was a proponent of saying the Pistons should go after a Brandon Ingram or a Zach LaVine, and there's a reason for that, and it's a reason that some people struggle to comprehend a little bit when I talk about it, but I've talked a lot about this on this channel. You need to win games to win games. The Detroit Pistons have been losing games for a long time. So the idea of just adding some people just to help you win some more games, make you a little bit more competitive, is going to be better for all your young talent in the long run. Otherwise, they're going to spoil, right? Like they're never going to get utilized the right way. They're going to spoil. Pistons have been doing a better job this year. They went out and got some veterans. They've been winning some basketball games. I believe they're the 9 right now. Maybe that's changed, but I think they're still the 9 at this point. And so what we do with them now is we still should be buyers, right? Like at this deadline, they should try to scoop somebody up. I don't think you should exhaust a ton of resources to do it, but I think you should make some sort of buy now move. I don't think it needs to be a LaVine or an Ingram at this point, though. So I'm not sure about that. If you told me it's Bradley Beal or something like that, I could kind of get behind that just because the expectation of that is a little bit different, right? He'd be a little bit more of a mentor type player on the team. It's not like you're going to be competitive for the next year or two anyway, so why not, right? And he would just make the team better. Bradley Beal's a very good basketball player. So I can get behind something like that. I don't necessarily think, though, that they should go after LaVine or Brandon Ingram at this point. I've kind of swapped off of that idea, so that's what I'm thinking. If you're the Bulls, too, like, man, I guess you get off the contract if nothing else, so fair enough. What are you going to do? DeAndre Hunter. Do we really think the Hawks are trading DeAndre Hunter at this point? Like, I know the very basic logic is going to be, well, they drafted Ricochet with the first pick, which, by the way, he's like the least talked about draft pick. There's like no draft picks that are talked about really this year, it feels like, and that's a shame. Like, Ricochet obviously hasn't been all that great, but again, Wizards fans, Sarr, looking good. He's probably rookie of the year at this point now. So shout out to you guys. Hopefully that makes you feel good. But DeAndre Hunter has had an awesome season, right? Really taking a step up, coming off the bench for them. He has been awesome. Very, very good basketball player, doing just about everything on the court. So very, very cool. What are we doing with them? DeAndre Hunter, Bogdan Bogdanovic, who's kind of been up and down for them, to the Warriors for Kuminga. Okay, gonna have to explain that one to me. Dennis Schroeder, again, where you are really hell-bent on just trying to trade Schroeder already. Already we've given up on him after, like 7 games? Gary Payton II, Kevon Looney, and a 2027 first-round pick. Okay, let's do some quick math here. 2 players coming in, 1, 2, 3, 4 players going out. Okay, so Atlanta's going to have to make another trade or cut some people or something to make that one work, because you're not taking in like insignificant salary in any of these guys. So obviously the value of this is you get a first round pick in Jonathan Kuminga, who admittedly he's been on a hot streak recently. It's still kind of like the same kind of like jargon play that he's been doing up to this point, which is a lot of just like, I'm just going to run into people and hope things happen. And he's been finishing a lot better, stuff like that. We all know he can put the ball on the floor a little bit, just doesn't see the court very well, and doesn't necessarily play great team basketball, but he's young, there's still some time to kind of figure that stuff out. But I guess I don't understand the point of this. Like, so what, you're going to try to develop him in like unison with Jalen Johnson? Like, the goal of Jonathan Kuminga would basically be to get him to like a Jalen Johnson level already. And you already have him. He's like 24 years old. So like, why not just keep with that? I don't know. That doesn't like click in my head. What does this do? Hunter's improved shot diet. So this just makes Golden State better. While he nor Bogdanovich would fill Golden State's second star opening. Okay, Hunter's shooting consistently make him a cleaner fit on the wings with Andrew Wiggins. Yup, he creates shots. The Hawks, meanwhile, might pounce on the opportunity to further brighten their future by adding both Kuminga and a first as an added bonus. They could keep themselves competitive this season. I don't know. I don't get that. Why take on the project of Kuminga when you've kind of already achieved the project of Kuminga? So no, I don't like that one either. Jonathan Kuminga again. Why not? Why the hell not? So what are we doing now? Jonathan Kuminga, Gary Payton, Kevon Looney, all the like $8 million players, Guy Santos, a 2027 first round pick and a 2026 second round pick. Okay, a lot of people out on the move again for Cameron Johnson and Deron Sharp. They always just throw Deron Sharp into these trades like he's some nobody. Deron Sharp is like a very solid like center in the NBA. I know he's been like somewhat unavailable at points this season, but like nice player overall. He's not just a throw-in. I feel like people put him into throw-ins because they're just not so familiar with his game. So just a little something I want to throw out there. But if you're taking Kuminga, Gary Payton, Looney, basically salary fillers, right, that the Nets don't care about right now. Guy Santos, they get a first round pick. So basically it's Kuminga and a first for Cameron Johnson and Deron Sharp. I don't know. This makes the Warriors better, right? This would make the Warriors a ton better. Deron Sharp is instantly probably the best center that they have on the roster, in my opinion, at least. Like, presuming health and everything else, Deron Sharp, best center on the team. Still doesn't bring you a ton of like rim protection or anything, which is a little bit concerning. Cam Johnson, very good basketball player, fits on every single team, shoots the lights out, can put the ball on the floor a little bit, defends well. Like, he just fits, right? He can fit anywhere. He makes the team better. This trade makes the team better. You're no longer reliant on like an explosion from Jonathan Kuminga to try to be competitive, which I think overall is a good thing. I think Golden State should be trading him, Moody, anybody else that they just don't need, like the Gary Paytons, Kevon Looney's, etc. Right? I don't know. I don't think that it's really necessary to have him on the team. Kyle Anderson, throw him in there too. I mean, he doesn't even get to play, and he's making a couple $1 million as well, right? So yeah, that works. And I guess if you're the Nets, you get Kuminga, which is interesting. You can mess around with him and D'Lo for the rest of the season. He can play as much as he wants. Do whatever he wants on the basketball court, right? Him and Claxton would be an interesting combination together. But why do you care at this point anyway? You're trying to lose basketball games, and I guess you get a pick for it too. So I guess that one's not bad. Like, I don't hate that trade. Like, that's not one that I would make a video of afterwards and just completely scoff at it. I'd find it a little weird that they packaged Deron Sharp for Kuminga in a first, but maybe Nets fans are okay with giving up Sharp for that. I don't know. I'm not tripping about this trade at the end of the day. I think it could be valuable for both teams, so that's how we'll leave it. I'm down for that one. Brandon Ingram. Now we're getting into the juicy stuff, aren't we? Now we're getting... What is this picture, by the way? Like, why you have the whole internet to pick from, and this is the one you picked for Brandon Ingram. Okay, fair enough. Dude looks like me like 15 minutes ago. I'm just trying to go to the bathroom, but okay, fair enough. We don't need to talk about that. Brandon Ingram to the Detroit Pistons. It's like I read their damn minds, man. I already talked about it, so you'll know my opinion already. Brandon Ingram to the Pistons for Beef Stew, Tim Hardaway Jr., Bobby Clintman again, Wendell Moore, kind of an irrelevant player. Sorry, Wendell Moore. 2028 first round pick. Okay, so what do the Pelicans get out of this for Brandon Ingram? They get Isaiah Stewart, nice basketball player. They've needed some center help. Isaiah Stewart's a nice basketball player. He's on a pretty good contract. Tim Hardaway Jr., cool. A scorer that'll be on the team for this year. Bobby Clintman, cheap guy to fill out the back half of the roster, maybe become something. Wendell Moore, salary filler. 2028 first round pick, top 10 protected. I don't know. I just keep Brandon Ingram. He's just such a good basketball player. I'd rather just keep trying at this point. You guys heard what I said about the Pistons and adding a Brandon Ingram or Zach LaVine. So no, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it makes sense. I'm not going to spend too much more time on it. Cam Johnson again. Okay. Where are we going now? The trade. Cam Johnson and Deron Sharp. See, they just throw him into things like he's a nothing because he's a salary fixer. So I don't know. I don't like that. To the Pacers. Okay, let me think this through really quick. Cam Johnson, wing player. Like, they need a wing player. You could throw him in at the 3. Still got Pascal and Miles Turner and stuff. And who are we trading? Obi Toppin hasn't quite had the season that he did last year. Him and TJ McConnell. I feel like it's just been kind of weird. Aaron Nesmith, injuries and stuff like that. Oh, they're trading Furphy already. I like Furphy. I know that the Pacers have gotten some criticism for not going and getting a more win-now player with that pick. But I don't know. I like, there was nobody on the board at the time where Furphy got picked where at least I was convinced that they were going to be, like, NBA good or anything. So I think that that's fair, all said and done. And I shouldn't say NBA good, but in a position that they need, that was also going to be like NBA good. So I don't know. I like the Furphy pick. I think long-term he could be something. So that's just my take on him and what I've kind of filled out in the draft evaluation process. But so they're getting rid of him. 2028 first round pick, a 2025 second round pick, and a 2027 second round pick. So is that a good return for Cam Johnson? You get one interesting player for your future. Obi Toppin maybe sells you an extra ticket or two throughout the season because he's fun. Aaron Nesmith, I'm kind of meh on, in all honesty. He had a really good season last year for them. He had some great moments. And then they get a 2028 first round pick that's top 4 protected, and 2 second round picks. I don't know. I feel like I can get like something better than a Johnny Furphy, right? Like, I feel like we can get something of more value to that. The couple picks are nice, but Brooklyn's got all the picks in the world. They really don't need any more draft picks. As we say on this channel all the time, right? You can have too many draft picks. And you're going to be like, what? What do you mean? Just think about it, right? You can't use them all. You literally can't. So at some point, teams are just going to make you hold them and use them, and then they literally become worth nothing. They're literally worth nothing because you can't roster all the players. So it's just something to note. OKC's got to make a deal with their stuff at some point anyway. Plus, Cam Johnson, if he's going to get traded, he's going to OKC, right? Like, we all know that because nobody can outbid OKC because they have all the draft picks and everything, and they've got interesting young players to trade. So take it as it is. I don't necessarily see this trade making sense. Is this really what like the Pacers need as well? I don't know. I don't know what the Pacers need. Jimmy Butler is 2. Who am I forgetting that's number 1 right now? Maybe I'm tripping. Okay, so are we sending him to the Suns? No, we're sending Jimmy Butler to the Kings. Okay, Jimmy Butler to the Sacramento Kings for DeMar DeRozan, who, look, similar types of players, right? For Kevin Huerter and Devin Carter. It's not DeMar DeRozan's fault that this team like hasn't been that great this year, so I'm a little bit confused why adding Jimmy Butler makes it better. But look, the Kings are very reactionary, as we can tell with the whole Mike Brown thing, but I guess it's been going fine for them since the firing, so that's good, I guess. Does Jimmy Butler on a team with De'Aaron Fox sound any better than it was with Fox and DeRozan? I don't necessarily think so. Like, it adds some more defense and some more toughness and stuff like that. Like, look, like, this would probably make the team better. This also depletes the depth of an already not very deep Sacramento Kings team. And I'm sure Kings fans don't want to give up on Devin Carter like this early. That was your first round pick and everything, and you've been waiting for him to come back, and now you've got all this hope and everything that he's going to save you a little bit more. Look, you don't be too attached to him, right? Don't be too attached. I think he's going to be a solid player, all said and done, but don't be too attached to him for the right things. But I don't know. I don't think this is enough for the Sacramento Kings to warrant it. You're locking yourself into a second apron situation, then locking up Jimmy Butler long term with Fox and Sabonis. Like, that's a good team, and you still got Monk and Ellis and Keegan Murray and stuff like that, who I'm a big fan of, but I don't know. I just think you can do better things with it. I don't think that that's really worth it at the end of the day. But maybe you just say, look, we're not doing great enough right now, so we got to make the move, and that's what we go with. But who's the last player? Who's the last? Oh, De'Aaron Fox. Are we really taking these Fox rumors like that seriously? Like, I know there's been a lot of like rumblings that there's some disgruntlement or something like that, and it's the contract thing. Look, most of these things a little inside the NBA. Look right here, somebody that's been on the inside of it. Look, most of this stuff's money at the end of the day. Like, Jimmy Butler's not actually like probably that mad at the Miami Heat. He just wants his paycheck, right? The whole like, oh, I don't feel joy anymore. I bet you he does to an extent because he feels disrespected in where he's playing right now, right? And that's totally valid. Like, I get that, and I get the ownership side of it. I get both. I really, really do. But it's mostly just money. Dude just wants to be paid. He wants his next contract, and the Heat are like, no, screw off. And so, okay, you go your separate ways. Then it's not a big deal. But like, I don't know. There hasn't really been anything all that public from like De'Aaron Fox or anything like that, and I don't see why you get rid of him. Like, I don't know what the plan of that would be. Like, are you attempting a retool with Sabonis? Like, what's kind of the game plan going forward? That's what I don't understand. Like, what direction are we picking as a team? Was the one season to light the beam? That's it? that's all we got out of this group, and now we're just done with them. So I don't know, but let's see what the trade is. It's definitely to, I was going to say it's to the Rockets. It is not. The trade, De'Aaron Fox to the San Antonio Spurs, which we've already talked about. I don't think the Spurs are necessarily buying at all. I'm sure they'd take the call for De'Aaron Fox. They'd be like, oh, well, De'Aaron Fox, like he's pretty good. For Keldon Johnson, okay, fair enough. Jeremy Sohan, I like Sohan a lot. Trey Jones, I really like Trey Jones. A first-round pick. Okay, that's the Chicago Bulls one. A 2027 first-round pick, a 2026 pick swap, and 2 seconds. Whoa. Okay, so a couple starter-level, like, NBA players here. A couple first-round picks and pick swaps for De'Aaron Fox. Like, De'Aaron Fox is a very, very good NBA player, right? Like, he's going to be a borderline all-star for a long time. He falls into that category, right? One all-NBA performance. Not the best passer, not always the best shooter, right? Does a lot of good, though. Pretty unguardable in the clutch, and he's performed really, really well in big-time situations and stuff, which that holds a lot of merit, like it just does. There's a ton of value in that, don't get me wrong. I'm really not trying to, like, shit-talk De'Aaron Fox. I'm just saying, like, you want to trade all this for a guy that's kind of like a tier 3 player, if we will, and I know you're trying to picture a tier 3 thing. Like, I guess in my head, I'm like, okay, you've got like the top couple echelon of players, right? Kind of like the top 5 or 6. And then you kind of have like the all-star type dudes, and then you have like the borderline all-star dudes. Like, because I've got him in like the same category as like a LaVine or something like that, or like a Brandon Ingram and stuff. Which elite basketball player, right? Elite player. It's just, I don't know. I like Sohan and the energy that he brings defensively. They're kind of figuring his role out. I think Trey Jones has been awesome whenever he's in with Wemby. Those two connect really well. I don't mind Keldon Johnson off the bench. If you want to do something else with him, that's fine. But do you really want to give up all these picks for it, rush the process and everything? Nah, just let the team build organically. Like, they're very competitive this year. They're solid. Chris Paul has been awesome for them. Harrison Barnes, nice fit for the team and everything. Vassell's starting to get healthy and ramp his minutes up. And while he still plays a little bit erratic at times, dude is the bucket getter on that team. So I don't know. I think it's fine for the most part. I don't think you need to do this. So all in all, how many of these trades did we actually think were like valuable? Not that one. It was this Warriors one, right? For Cam Johnson. Yeah, so we said that one could maybe happen. Otherwise, the rest of these are kind of meh, in our opinion. Yeah, especially when they kept trying to force Schroeder like off the Warriors already. That was kind of a weird one. So not the most elite article I've ever read by Zach Buckley, but nonetheless, I appreciate the time it took to put into this. It gets us thinking around the deadline as to what's possible. These trades are so hard to make nowadays, and there's so many rules and little complications and things, and it just gets challenging at the end of the day. So we'll see what ends up really happening. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a quieter deadline, but hey, we'll have some fun tomorrow. I promise I'll get the Phoenix Suns video up to you guys on Friday. That way you guys have a good end of your week and everything like that. But hey, appreciate you guys as always, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks so much. Bye.